Hello, awesome students. How are you? Hope all is good. Today, we are going to discuss a very important topic. This topic is for GCSE students. This topic is for ESL writing language, first language English. Right, today we are going to discuss monologue. Monologue that actually have been asked in the comments by some of my students, and they were sending me, please discuss what's a monologue, definition, elements, structure, and example of a monologue. Let's learn together what does it mean a monologue. What's a monologue? So simple. In theater, if we are acting any kind of drama, tragedy, we are going to have a monologue. Some people add in their drama or in their tragedy monologue as a kind of fun, as a kind of attracting more and more readers. And that I consider super nice. Really, really nice. If you know how to write a monologue in a right way, then you will be able to add flavors to your writing if you're writing a whole drama or tragedy as we agreed. So what's a monologue? In theater, a monologue is presented by a single character. So we might have many characters in the tragedy or in the drama, like Shakespeare's writings, Macbeth, Julius Caesar, King Lear, Hamlet. All of them are good examples for including a monologue. You can have the hero, the main character, who's Macbeth or King Lear, and they can be talking because it has to be a single. Mono, it means single. Single character, most often to express their mental thoughts aloud. So sometimes to direct an address to another character, maybe to the audience. So what does this mean? Maybe I have Macbeth and I have Lady Macbeth as an example to the great play slash drama slash tragedy of Macbeth. And we are going to discuss what's the difference, by the way, for students who are learning literature. What's the difference between play, drama, tragedy? Right. And now Macbeth, he wants to express his own thoughts. Only him on theater, only him in the scene, only him as a single character. He might be talking to himself or he might be addressing someone else from the characters that he is talking to. That would be clearer in the example. Monologue are common across the range of dramatic media, plays, as we agreed, or films, as well as in non-dramatic media, as poetry. I adore monologue in poetry. Super nice. I love it. I love it. I enjoy reading monologue in poetry. But today, we're going to see the structure of a monologue generally, whether I write it poetic with a rhymetic method or I write it clear in a prose, which is a play, a drama, a tragedy, or just a text. Let us see structure of monologue. Like a narrative writing, the monologue consists of exposition, rising action, climax, resolution. So what's an exposition? Exposition, as we agreed before, it is the start. Rising action, starting of a problem. Climax, complicated problem. Resolution, solution for the problem. That is simply going to be the structure of a monologue. So how could we do that in a monologue, not in a general narrative writing? I will start with the exposition. When you write your exposition for a monologue, you need to put these questions in mind. First, is there an idea you would like to convey? It has to be in the exposition. Is the character's voice speaking to you or to himself? Where is the character exactly? Allow the environment to inform your work. Super important. So again, exposition, which is the start of the monologue. That's what attracts someone like me as a reader. I would love to see the exposition clear, but I would like answers to these questions. So, is there any idea you would like to convey? What's the idea? What's the point? That you want me as a reader or as an audience to get? What's the point? Do you want to teach me something? Is there a new lesson? Which is the theme in any other writing? Maybe you would have it in the monologue, in the exposition. Before we said, when we write any kind of writing, there must be a moral lesson, like fables, lesson learned, which is equal to theme in any narrative writing or any kind of writing. You have to teach the audience something new. You have to tell them what's the point of reading all these words. So in order to do so in a monologue, then there must be a point to convey, and the character, single character, is going to give to someone like me as an audience. Shall we go for more about exposition? Why is your character speaking? You have to state a point in the environment around the character. Why is Macbeth, for example, speaking? Why is Lady Macbeth speaking? Why is there any character like Scrooge in Christmas Carol, for example, writing, speaking in a monologue? Why is that? Why am I going to put him in a position on stage or theater where he is having all the cameras and the lights on him, spotted on him, and he's going to speak? Why? So you have to do this question, which will provide, what did we say before? A hook. A hook. So you're going to hook the reader or the audience to carry on so carefully to listen to your monologue, your point, occurring within the first few lines. This will draw the audience attention. Absolutely. If it hooks, then it draws their attention to the character, of course, not to the tragedy though, not to the play, but to the character himself. The hook automatically creates tension, absolutely. So can I consider the hook, which is the exposition, a start for the rising action? Yes, you can. Yes, you can, if you write it in a proper way, where you don't confuse the reader or the audience. In the story, it sets the major dramatic question into motion. What is the character looking to discover or explain? That's what we need with the exposition. Rising action. Rising action in the monologue is not complicated like my students used to ask me. They used to ask me, I don't know why I feel like the rising action in the monologue is a bit hard. I don't know how to create it after all this tension that we create in the exposition. Well, actually, your character will elaborate. So you need your character to elaborate what has happened in the exposition. How could you do so without feeling boring or without making the audience feel, oh, boring? No. How could you write like Shakespeare? How could you write something great, piece great like Christmas Carol? Christmas Carol could have been boring without using monologue and using proper characterization. Speculate, ponder, reflect on issues around the key theme. Yes, do not lose your theme. Do not lose it. Allow the character to have a variety of feelings and thoughts. That's the key point of monologue. As we said at the early beginning, monologue, mono, single character talking and expressing his inner thoughts and feelings. That comes out in the rising action, so clear. The tension, the conflict that your character is dealing with should be building towards going closer to climax. So exactly like we are thinking in the narrative, but we try to make it with a single character. So be careful that really the audience can give up so easily. Since it's a single character, you have to write your monologue using proper vocabulary, using analogy, using satire, using one of the literary devices that can make attraction. And please revise my previous videos about them. And that will make everyone attracted, hooked to your monologue. The climax is essential. I cannot drop that. Some of my students, they said, okay, you know what? We wrote in the exposition, we wrote everything in the rising action. Climax is so complicated, we have no idea how to build a climax. It's essential. It's so important. If you don't make it more complicated, the most complicated, like Macbeth, again, I'm taking the example of Macbeth in Shakespeare's piece of writing, that would be super hard. Like Julius Caesar, great. I mean, like, great monologue in the text there, in the tragedy there. So the climax is essential, as we agreed, as it encompasses the core thought of the story. What is the character really trying to say in there? I would have that in the climax of the monologue. Resolution. And look at the happy face thanks to my graphic designer. It's essential to have an ending to your monologue that provides resolution or closure to what he really wanted to transfer as a message. That message has to be clear, finalizing it in the resolution. So what are the elements of monologue? And we are going to have part 2 for monologue, by the way. That's not all about monologue. So elements of the monologue, the audience imply there is the dialogue speaker speaks through an assumed voice, character, fictional identity, or a person. Exactly. So sometimes people, and that's why I consider it a little bit, as a critic, I consider it a little bit boring if you are fusing the character with what he wants to say with another character. That makes it so complicated. No, we don't want that. We need just the mono, the single character, his inner thoughts and his inner feelings to be clear. So the identity has to be clear in the words and the tone that you are choosing. So create through the tone a mood of a monologue that makes the people or the audience not bored and not confused. A monologue is one person's speech, as we agreed, mono, one. It's offered without overt analysis or commentary, placing emphasis to the subjunctive qualities that are left to the audience to interpret. Yes, I want as an audience to have my own interpretation in my mind. I want as an audience to have my own perspective in my heart. I want to have, from what I have read, what I have heard, what I have watched, something that I would learn through it. Usually it's new and good, or maybe if it's old, not repeated by other pieces of writing. So how would I do so? By creating a proper single character monologue. What else can we learn about the monologue? Monologue script example, and let me move up there. Setting: the Bilbo Baggins house. There is a big soft chair in the middle of the room. Beside the chair is a small table with some food on. There is a rug on the floor. Enter the Bilbo. He goes to the couch and sits down. Bilbo, worried. Oh dear me, what am I going to do? This wasn't a good idea, though. Picks up the food and has a little nibble. Gandalf has gone off into the big wood, and I'm not sure what to do now. Scratch his head, concerned voice. I'm just, what would Gandalf want to do? What he might do with me now? Gets up and walks to the window, surprised. Oh, look! He looks out of the window. There is my friend! Look at that monologue. Isn't it amazing? I love it. It's just one example for the video duration time, but if you're looking for more, just follow me for the part 2 monologue writing. If you like this video, do not forget to thumb up, like, and share. And please share with others so they would learn as well as you. If you have any comment, drop it in. I would answer you. Do not forget to subscribe though and follow me with the coming videos. I'll see you soon. Bye.